Ah. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Daily Dose. So, the big question of the day. Today's question for you is, should you run to lose weight if you're over 40? That's my question for you this morning. Welcome to another episode. I got outside. It's totally soaking wet out here. The rain has been coming down lately, hard, and not really much of running weather if you like to run in the rain, maybe. But showing you, these are what I'm using. It's kind of funny. I'm looking at, I don't know if you got any runners out there, pay attention. Actually, more so if you're thinking about running to lose weight, or if you're currently maybe using running as your main tool to lose weight. I can tell you, shoes, it's really interesting. Take a look at all that cushion in there. It goes to show a little difference between now and maybe even about 10 years ago when I was wearing those like barefoot shoes. I don't think I could do that these days. So is it a wise choice to use running as your way to lose weight? That's my question for you. So of course there's lots of options. But as far as exercise goes, I know a lot of people, and I've been around a lot of people who run to lose weight. Well, why do you run to lose weight? Well, there's a couple of reasons I know. It's accessible, right? You basically have your body, you get a pair of running shoes, and you can go out for a run, right? Either whether it be at a gym on a treadmill, in your home on a treadmill, outside in your yard or in your neighborhood, maybe out on the beach, you can go for a run. It's pretty straightforward. You just get out and you go run, right? Really kind of nothing to it. And yes, the controversy, it's, I think, going to be one of those like everlasting controversies. Is it smart to run? I heard it's bad for your knees. One of the things I hear all the time is running is bad for your knees, Mark. It's bad. My doctor said it's bad for your knees. Well, he may say it for you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's the case for everyone out there. In fact, running causes arthritis. Well, it doesn't necessarily cause arthritis. It could actually make arthritis worse. Sometimes more people are prone to getting arthritis, and if you have extra weight on your body, and you're trying to run on them, there's kind of all of those factors to consider. So today in the Daily Dose, just so you know what the Daily Dose is, to provide some encouragement, also to help you in your path to living the healthiest, best possible life that you can. And I don't know what that looks like for you, where you're at in that journey, but I just want to share with you some my tips and pointers, and to help give you that hope and encouragement. And if you are running to lose weight, this may be the message you need to hear. Because if you're overweight and you're running, it's hard. Heck, if you're over 40 and you're not overweight, it's still hard. Running gets harder as we get a little bit older, and our body, it ages. The reality is it ages. So there's this is not for me to say running is good or not good for you, but I just want to share with you some of the things that I've learned about running and what it does to your joints, and the positives and the negatives. We're going to weigh both, and then you can decide if you're using or you're considering getting a pair of running shoes and using running as your means to lose weight, or part of your exercise routine to lose weight. Then I want you just to listen to this, because it'll be resonating with you after, and maybe you can even help somebody that is running, that's struggling, that's overweight. First off, just so you know, running is not necessarily bad for you. Yes, if you're more prone to arthritis, and yes, if you have your body's worn down over the years, maybe you played a lot of sports in your joints and the cartilage between the joints, and the meniscus in your knees, the little shock absorbers, if you will. You think of like the easiest way to explain it and to help you understand better. Our body has shock absorbers just like a car does. So you think of our spine has shock absorbers. Every little space between the spine has these shock absorbers. And then in our knees and our hips, and then there's this cartilage. It's kind of like cushion, right? Things like for jumping and walking, to provide support for our body and our joints and muscles and organs and all those things, right? And let's just go back to the knees, because typically people say, running's bad for your knees. Well, what can happen is, if you're prone to arthritis, and you may have arthritis, and if you are running on your knees, this is not even with weight. I haven't even gotten to the weight loss part yet, but I will. Hang tight with me. Is when it comes to running on maybe arthritic knees that are maybe now worn out or are just starting to wear down, the cartilage, just like shock absorbers in a car, tend to wear down. Why? After so many years, if you notice an old car riding down the road, kind of has like almost too much up and down, the suspension, the shocks in the cars are worn out. And that's what happens. That's essentially what the meniscus is. That cartilage in between the joints. You hear people get knee replacements, right? 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm sure you've known a friend, or maybe you've even had a knee replacement. And what they do is they take that knee out and they put a new one, basically new knee, and they put in new struts and shocks and all those things into your knee. Now, of course, it's not the same. So with that, running is a challenging thing if you have arthritis. But also think of this: what does your doctor also say? Now, if you don't have arthritis and you're getting older, and we all get a little bit of joint wear and tear, right? But as you get older, one of the things your doctor will say, well, you're prone to osteoporosis and osteopenia. You need to take your supplements and your vitamin D and magnesium and all that stuff. But you also need to do weight-bearing exercises. Right? You've heard that. Weight-bearing exercise isn't resistance exercises. Using a band and curling a band is not weight-bearing. That's not a weight-bearing exercise. A weight-bearing exercise is something like walking or running. So actually, running can be beneficial in helping to keep your joints lubricated. So, there's a lot of people I know that live a long, healthy life and are runners that don't tend to have arthritis or are prone to arthritis. Their joints are maybe not in too bad a shape and they enjoy running, and it's great, right? Now, where does this whole line come into play with overweight? Now, if you're overweight and you're trying to lose weight, the problem that happens, it's hard. If you're running, trying to run with an extra, say 30, 40, 50 pounds of weight on your body, it's going to be harder. If you just go ahead right now, even if you're overweight, go pick up for something 40 pounds and try to run with it. You'll automatically see right away how much harder. Maybe over time you've put on weight and maybe you can run with 40 pounds. But the problem is, let's just say you're now, for the 100-pound person, just so you know what happens when you run. Every time you put your foot down, you're putting 4 times the amount of pressure, of impact load on your joints, 4 times when you run, than your body weight. So let's just make it super easy. If you're 100 pounds, every time you put your knee and you put a step down and you plant, you're putting 400 pounds of pressure on your knees. So just keep that in mind. Now, mind you, say you're 200 pounds. You're putting 4 times that amount. So you're talking about every time you put your knee down, if you're running, 800, now I don't know a lot of math, but I can do the basics. 800 pounds of pressure on your knee every single time you plant your foot down when you run. So the bottom line is, if you're overweight and trying to run to get the weight off, you can do it. It's going to be hard. And just so you know, there are repercussions that are going to come. It may cause, if you have a little arthritis, it may cause exacerbation, meaning it could cause a faster rate of that joint pain. Arthritis is basically inflammation in the joint, what also causes pain. Well, if you're overweight and you've run and you feel in your knees, chances are it's the extra weight that's causing the extra impact that's causing that arthritis to flare up. And it may be a combination of that. Maybe it's your footwear as well, making sure you have good support on your feet. It could be that you have wear and tear on your meniscus. So in that respect, while I say it's something that can be used as a tool for weight loss, it isn't necessarily the best. In fact, what I would recommend is actually, if you were on a weight loss program, even if you can run with 30, 40 pounds of weight on, is you might be better off walking. You're going to put less of an impact on your body. You may have more success. The chances are you're going to feel the benefits of the walking, maybe accomplished, because you'll be able to go longer. And maybe you can't go as fast or get it done as quick, but it is something just to keep in mind. So at the end of the day, in the Daily Dose today, I want to just be helpful in as far as if you're on a health track of trying to lose weight, if you're over 40. Now, listen, what happens when we get over 40? Things just get harder. Running gets harder. If you tried maybe running in your 20s and 30s, and even if you were overweight, chances are it was probably a little bit easier, right? Your joints and your bones and your muscles were younger, right? So that you feel your youth, even if you were overweight then. But now that you're older, even if you're the same size, say you were 30 pounds overweight in your 20s and you're able to run, and now you're in your 40s, chances are your body is not going to respond. Because look, if you've been running on extra weight on your body, it's going to cause an effect. It's going to make things harder. Now, that's to say with pretty much anything, right? Even if it's something like low impact, like cycling. If you're cycling, yes, it's not as much impact on your joints, but you have extra resistance you're pushing against. If you're cycling with an extra 40 pounds, you're working with an extra 40 pounds, it's going to be harder. So that's just something to also keep in mind. But at the end of the day, is running bad for you if you're trying to lose weight? It's not necessarily, but if you are prone to arthritis, it is something to keep in mind. So that's the tough thing is, because it's so simple, it's like, hey, I don't need a gym. No, you don't. I really don't need great shoes, although I would recommend having a good pair of running shoes if you're going to do that. Yes, that's going to be helpful. If you're prone to arthritis, I definitely would not recommend it, but ultimately you need to talk to your doctor. I know people that have had knee replacements and start running again, believe it or not. But it doesn't mean to say it's not going to be hard if you are more prone to having arthritis, if you are more prone to having that pain, and if you are overweight. If you have 40 or 50 pounds overweight, so the difference could be, say you're 50 pounds overweight, and instead of 150, which is your goal weight, and you're 200, and instead of what that being 600 pounds of pressure, see, that's still quite a bit of pressure on your joints. So instead of 600 pounds of pressure, if you're 50 pounds overweight, now it's 800 pounds of pressure. So that wear and tear is going to catch up with you. And what's going to happen is a couple things, is that you're going to find that the running, although you're able to run and it's easy access, your weight's not going to come off if it doesn't happen in the kitchen, right? At the end of the day, you can't out-train or outrun a bad diet. So while you may feel better and accomplished by running and doing a 3-mile run 3-4 times a week, and you're doing that consistently, and you're wondering yourself, why am I not losing any weight anymore? And it's really hard and I'm hurting, and then you just give up on your running. It's very easy to do, right? It's something that's not necessarily a solution. It is a tool that you can use, but I would recommend if you are thinking about running. So let me give you really a helpful dose of my advice as a fitness coach is, if you're planning and you want to run, Mark, I really enjoy running, I love it. Well, work on your nutrition, work on your accountability, get the weight off, start a walking program, start that first. Build up the strength. Also make sure you're doing some cross training, because there's nothing worse than just going out and running and then something happened, maybe step on a pebble or a curb or something, and because you're not strong and you're just running and you're used to running, then you jack up your knee and you need surgery on your knee. You can't run anymore because you didn't do any training outside to support the joints around it, and then you're kind of at a loss and you're like, well, that's all I knew is how to run. So do yourself a favor. It's kind of like to diversify, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in a basket. Like if you have stocks, if you go in the stock market, and I'm not a stock guy, but I'm sure if you have investments, chances are you don't have all your investments in one thing, right? And that's the same thing with your body. Make your investments wisely. Don't just rely on running as your tool to get in shape, because the other thing is, when you start running, you'll realize if you're doing the same running, it doesn't have the same effect. It may early on give you great rewards. You may even see some weight loss, but over time, your body's going to get adapted unless you're changing up your routine. That's why it's so important as well with an exercise routine to change it up, and more importantly, to know what you're doing. It's easy, like, oh, I'll just try, P90X. Oh, they got a new program, I'll just do that. Well, how do you know that's appropriate for you if you're 45 and your joints are jacked up and worn out and you're 40 pounds overweight and you're trying to get in shape like that person on the commercial because they told you that's exactly what's going to happen? You're going to come up short. Just trust me on that. I've been doing this for a long time. So anyway, I hope that helps. Running definitely is something that can be useful and a tool. It can definitely help you in your weight loss, but you want to be careful how you go about starting a running program. The best way to do so is if you find a coach who actually understands the body well, who knows what people need in their 40s. And that's why I created my Lean Body Breakthrough Coaching Program, because it's exactly for that. Because I have people that come to me and say, Mark, I used to enjoy running. In fact, I have a student right now who lost about 25, 30 pounds, and she's starting back into a running program. I have somebody else who wants to run Thanksgiving Day, wants to run and wants to get some weight off so that they can start running again in their turkey trot to burn off their Thanksgiving. And we're working on a weight loss program to make it easier, because right now it's not doable with the extra weight. You can't run. Some people just can't run with the extra weight on. And just to think of the inside things that are happening with your joints and just being cautious. So anyway, I hope this message found you well. If it did, all I ask in return, I don't charge for any of this. This is totally free, my time. I don't get it back. If it provided value for you, I encourage you not just to watch it again, or if you just came on, to watch it again, but also to share it with a friend. Appreciate you, love you. Have an awesome day. We'll see you.